the incredible, the fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, come one and come all to a film you've never seen before. But remember, folks, no refunds.
Hello and welcome to No Refunds, the podcast where we watch bad movies so you don't have to. A Cold North production. I'm your host, Ben Reynolds, and this week we watched Rob Cohen's 2008 film, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Joining me for this discussion, we have Dapper Tim Miller and Patrick the Law Morris.
Hello.
Check out everything we have going on over at coldnorthpro.com. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review wherever you found our podcast. And now, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
We found it, Professor. It's the tomb of the Dragon Emperor and his army.
This is incredible.
2,000 years ago, China's Dragon Emperor conquered half the world. Now, he is returning to finish the job.
Here we go again.
From Universal Pictures.
We're gonna do this my way. I put down more mummies in my time than you.
You put down one mummy, Dad.
Yeah, same mummy, twice.
And the producers of The Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
How exactly are we supposed to fend them off?
When the Emperor built the Great Wall, he buried his enemies underneath it. I will call them to battle once again.
So these are the good undead guys, right?
This summer.
I tell you to fasten your seatbelts, but it was too cheap to buy any.
Why am I laughing?
Beyond death.
I really hate mummies!
Beyond imagination.
This guy ever run out of tricks?
Lies an adventure that will live for all eternity.
Time to go.
The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
All right, so my first beef is the name is way too fucking long.
Okay, I'm glad you got beef with the name, because that was going to be my first bone to pick. What is a mummy? Because this movie, they keep calling him a mummy.
Well, isn't it technically just a preserved remains, I think?
I think it has to be mummified remains. Like, I think the act of mummifying is like wrapping in bandages.
But mummification, don't they consider like the dude they found frozen a mummy? Or do they not? Because he was preserved by...
What dude did they find frozen?
Natural.
I remember that happening on Simpsons, but...
No, they found like prehistoric people frozen in glaciers in Europe.
I also remember that happening on South Park, but like...
All right, so the definition of mummy is a body of a human being or animal that has been ceremonially preserved by removal of the internal organs, treatment with natron and resin, and wrapping in bandages. So, yeah, I guess according to that, this is not a mummy.
I mean, his inside's liquefied, but don't think
technically,
he's wrapped in anything.
I mean, I guess they defined this guy's remains in this place, like without stepping on my internet research. Essentially, it's based on a real Qin dynasty emperor named Qin Shi Huang, who was discovered buried with the so-called terracotta army. But I'm guessing it was just bones and shit that they found. I'm actually not. I didn't do that much research into it, and I never studied that. yeah, exactly. I never really studied Chinese history very much as a history major in school. So yeah, I'm not positive what they found there, but I don't think it was like a mummy. So technically, this is not a mummy. We've got a lot of beef with the name of this movie.
And okay, as long as we're piling on that too, what's up with the title card? Like, in watching the movie, the title of the movie is so low on the title card. It's like at the bottom quarter of the screen.
Yeah, I guess that's true. What was the second Mummy movie called The Scorpion King? Like
No.
technically, or was it just Mummy 2?
It was The Mummy Returns.
Oh yeah, The Mummy Returns,
And then the Scorpion King was a spinoff.
Yeah, with just The Rock's character. Yeah,
Dwayne.
But then it's got a lot of sequels with other people besides Dwayne, right?
Yeah, and sequels are fairly regrettable, but Scorpion King, that movie was badass.
The first one? Oh, yeah.
Well, and I mean, so was Return of the Mummy. So both of the original movies were fucking great.
Oh, yeah.
Great fucking movies. Like
Mummy and Mummy Returns. Awesome.
Yeah, it's like basically like New Age Indiana Jones. Like
they did have their kind of Indiana Jones spice on them. But they were like, I would say they were kind of obvious imitators, but imitating in a respectful way that knew that they were less than Indiana Jones, but still very good.
Yeah. Well, all right. So now that we're done with our beef with the title, let's get on to our first order of business each week, which is the plot. And here we will read the plot synopsis that Google spits out when you Google the movie. So this one's actually not terrible. It's better than what IMDb had because I read both just out of curiosity. But so here's what we've got. Cursed by a devious sorceress, China's ruthless dragon emperor and his vast army lie buried in clay for millennia. When young archaeologist Alex O'Connell is tricked into reviving the emperor, he and his famous parents must find a way to send the ghoul back to the grave before he can awaken his vast army and take over the world.
I guess that's pretty accurate, aside from the fact that it's painting Michelle Yeoh's character in like a pretty negative light when she was definitely like cursed by a devious sorceress. Nah, she was just getting her revenge.
Yep.
Well, I also that's pretty true. I felt like the dude General Ming, he didn't look very Chinese. I don't know.
No. Okay. Jet Li, dude aged really poorly between like 2002 when he made Hero and 2008 when he made this movie.
Well, what's he done since?
Expendables.
Oh, I forgot that he was in that. But that was like around the same. That was not that long after this.
Well, and then he did Expendables 2 and 3.
I was not even aware that they had made that many sequels to that movie.
Oh my God, those movies are all great.
I don't even remember the first one really that well. Oh yeah, he looks pretty old now. He looks really old now, actually.
Oh yeah.
Dude hasn't aged well.
The years have not been kind.
Oh, he's gonna be the Emperor in the live action Mulan.
Oh, that's really
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe they can
actually
get
way down for that.
Maybe they can get what's her name? Isabella Leong to be Mulan.
I'm sure they've already cast Mulan because it's already in post production. So,
but Isabella Leong was in this movie. She played Lin, and I actually feel really bad for her. But we'll get into that later.
All right. So we feel like it was pretty accurate. It does leave out her character as well. I mean, I guess it talks about her mom.
Yeah, I like a one paragraph synopsis. I don't think it needs to hit on her.
Mention the love interest. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she was she wasn't.
Not at all.
I mean, she basically plays the same role as what's his name in the first two movies. His name is
Dwayne,
the Magi dude.
I haven't seen those movies in a really long time,
remember.
but I remember them being good.
The Magi guy is like awesome. I can't believe you guys don't remember him. It's disappointing. I'm disappointed in you.
Sorry.
It's been 15 years since I watched The Mummy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, rewatch it. Both of the first two are on Netflix as well right now, and both of the first two are way better to watch. So
they are.
Definitely watch those on Netflix. Yeah.
And like,
but she played. Yeah, she definitely played that same role as his character.
Yeah. But I was like, I last time I saw this movie was in theaters, and I remember being disappointed then, and I'm disappointed now. Because this movie, I wasn't into it. It was like, there were just a lot of things about it that felt very like B tier. And I mean, I typically like thirds in trilogies. Firsts and thirds are the best, and seconds are kind of the worst. And Mummy Returns was worse than The Mummy. And I was hoping that this would be better, but it wasn't.
I don't know. Mummy Returns is pretty awesome. I feel like both of those movies are probably on pretty equal playing grounds.
I remember seeing it and thinking, this is really good, but it's not as good as The Mummy.
Just rewatch them both. They're
All
both really good. Anyways, let's stop talking about them and talk about the movie that we're here to talk about.
All right. I think that something that really drug this movie down, aside from just a fairly generic plot, was Maria Bello. Like, she did it. She gave it her best shot, but like Rachel Weisz owned that character of Evie. She was so good as Evie in the first two movies that like as soon as they figured out that they couldn't get her back, they should have just written the character out. They should have just said, okay, I guess Evie's not in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely like Maria Bello even like said that it's not supposed to be the same character.
And they actually got a little bit cheeky about it. Like when her first line in the entire movie, she like looks up and she's like, she's a totally different person.
Well, so Bella was interviewed and said that the new Evie is different from the original Evie. She has the same name, but she is a quite different character. Rob Cohen has created a new Evelyn. In the first two Mummy movies, she was all actiony and lovely, but this Evelyn might be a little more forceful in terms of her martial arts and shooting skills. That's a quote from Bello. I don't know. Definitely she was not a great character. Rachel Weisz would have been much better. Absolutely. Definitely.
And I think that like on top of that, the story of like Shangri-La and the Chintamani Stone has been told a bunch of different times, and there are just a bunch of different ways that you can get the same story in a better way. So the one that comes to mind most for me is Uncharted 2. I think is a much better telling of a very, very similar story.
Yeah, it's true. That is a better story, definitely. Absolutely. The plot of Uncharted 2 is undoubtedly better than this movie. That's for sure.
And I mean, it's telling the same myth of like the Fountain of Youth in Shangri-La with the coming from the Chintamani Stone, right? It's all telling the same mythos. It's all based on the same legend, but it's
well, and that was just basically like that. I guess adding that as the back part, as the other part of the backstory, because the first part of the backstory was who the mummy was, and then that using the Chintamani Stone and Shangri-La as the second part of that was just kind of. It seems like it's kind of it's an overdone story. It's a story that's been told a lot of times, and I don't know. But I guess the Book of the Dead is the same. You could say the same thing. I think that you partially feel that way just because you like Uncharted so much.
It's true. I love Uncharted.
Because, yeah, like, I mean, we've heard the story of the Book of the Dead 1,000 times also. So, I mean, you could say the exact same thing about that. And they picked a mummy who is based on, I think, a real mummy in the first two movies. So,
but they told it really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree that that they did the storytelling better in the first two movies than in this movie. But I think that you particularly feel like that part is way worse because you like
I'm
Uncharted
super
2 so
biased
much.
because I love Uncharted. But I do think that there should have been a major red flag when Stephen Sommers wasn't the one bringing the mummy back, when it was Rob Cohen.
Well, he approved this script, so and then
Oof.
dropped out later. So
woof.
Yeah. But in any case,
that just makes it so much worse.
Yeah, in any case. So yeah, like basically long story short, they end up sending the ghoul back to the grave before he can awaken his vast army. He does turn into a fucking dragon, a 3-headed dragon, and that was kind of cool, even though the CGI was pretty terrible.
The CGI was really bad, but this is a series that has really leaned on CGI, and it did not age well in any of these movies.
I would argue that the parts with the sand cloud and the water are still really badass. Where the mummy is controlling the sand and making it come after the airplane, and then in the second one he's controlling the river and making it go after the boat.
We're just talking about Mummy and Mummy Returns too much.
But you just said that
that's true.
Their CGI didn't age well, and I disagree. Those scenes are really good still. But yeah, the CGI is not great in these movies, and it was definitely, people were not big on it when they came out even. So like people thought it looked good when they came out.
Realistic.
That's what I was going to mention is like there seems to be a trend with movies, like as they go on, the special effects almost get cutesy. So like you saw it with the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, and this is their third go around with the Mummy franchise, and like the Yetis almost got too cutesy and they looked just fucking weird and dumb, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah.
They should have been in that final battle.
Yeah, they should have. I don't think they would have survived well in that desert, though.
No. Well, so before we get to the questions, I've got some pretty good notes because I had definitely consumed a few beverages while watching this movie. So one of the first really good ones is all right. This is one of the funniest ones. Why is there a yak on the plane next to Jonathan? I literally asked that question, and then I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why is there a yak there? And then shortly later, Jonathan says the line, "The yak yacked," and I was like, oh, the yak was there just so that he could have that really stupid line.
Yeah, exactly. I thought also the exact same thing. He was like, I was like watching, and I was like, what is the story justification for this? What is the narrative justification for this yak? And then he said it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I should have seen that coming.
I mean, he does have a pretty touching moment with the yak a little bit later on.
I guess that's true. The next note that I have is Jet Li seems like he's forcing out a dump when he's regrowing his clay skin.
Yeah, and like he looks so angry and disheveled when he doesn't have the clay on him. He just looks like almost like a sad, depressed little man.
And then I have a note that's, how old is the Chinese girl supposed to be? Like the one who you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then I have a note later. She's 2,000 plus years old.
Still fuckable.
So so as long as we're talking about her, because I do feel actually really genuinely bad for her, because she was born in 1988. This movie came out in 2008. She turned 20 a few months before, like 6 weeks before this movie came out. This movie, so she was 19 when she filmed this movie. Like, and I mean, at the end, she was a new like staple in like the main cast moving forward. She was like probably thinking, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna be in The Mummy 4. And like then this movie totally bombed. And I looked at her on IMDb again for research purposes, and she was in 2 movies in 2015, and she has 1 movie coming up later this year, and that's it. And like she was probably on fucking top of the world at like when this movie came out, and then it bombed, and she didn't get another acting job.
She spoke out against the Chinese government, and they wouldn't let her get more acting jobs. Who knows?
Are you saying maybe? I thought that was like a teaser for the half-assed internet research, and I was like, oh shit.
Now I feel worse.
No, but it's been 7 years. It was 7 years, and she didn't get a single job, and then she did 2 movies. And I mean, I'm sure she got like a job, but not an acting job. But like, I do feel bad for her, especially since she was like real hot.
Yeah. So then I also said one of the best parts of the first Mummy was the fact that after the mummy was brought back to life, he had to kill all the people who were in the room when they opened the Book of the Dead or whatever. He had to kill all of them before he returned to full strength. And I thought it was lame that it seemed like Jet Li was just right back and like perfectly good, except for that he was clay. And then but then like shortly after I made this note, I wrote down the quotation from Jonathan. "We have to put down this mummy fast. The longer we wait, the stronger they get."
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of that narrative.
Then the next note is dialogue is awful.
Yes.
It was so cheesy.
It was really cheesy, and it felt like the first 2 movies felt like they were very aware of what they were, and they were embracing it. Whereas this one, I felt like kind of lost track of what it was.
Yeah.
And it worked to the movie's detriment.
Well, all right. So that, I think, brings us to our questions, which each film we go through, we'll revisit these 6 questions to lead our discussion. And it sounds like we basically were just discussing how bad was it. And it was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad.
I'm not going to lie. I actually really did enjoy the movie.
I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's not.
Oh, it's not great movie by any means, but I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of laughs like watching it.
Yeah, like, well, in the first time, I feel like it's one where like it has zero rewatchability.
Oh, yes. I'd never watch it again.
Yeah. It was fun to watch, but there's zero rewatchability.
Except maybe for the scene where they're landing the plane on the mountain. I might watch that again.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. But okay. So to put this in perspective of how bad I think the movie was, I used to love movies. I used to be like super into movies. And then, time went on and my interest sort of waned. And then I went and saw Jurassic World. And I was literally laughing at the movie in theaters. That movie was so fucking bad. And then the movie ended, and I looked at my friend that I had gone to the movie with, and I said, well, I guess I just don't like movies anymore. And we got up and left. And then that was kind of after that, I really don't have interest in movies anymore. But like starting this podcast, it's movies are kind of fun, right? And so last night I watched Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And keep in mind, I watched the sequel to the movie that made me say, well, I guess I just don't like movies anymore. And I enjoyed that movie more than I enjoyed this.
It's a fun movie to watch. I am looking forward to it coming onto HBO in March, because then I'm going to watch the shit out of it again, because it was fucking good.
I think Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom belongs on this podcast, but not as much as Jurassic World. Fallen Kingdom was better than Jurassic World. I'll give you that.
I just like dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs are fucking awesome.
So that is what I think. This movie was real bad, except for one part, and that was Jet Li versus Michelle Yeoh. Holy fuck!
I do have a note that was the final fight between Jet Li and Witch was badass. But I also have a note that was, why are the witch's rituals in English but the Emperor's in Chinese?
Because this movie has no consistency. Like it was very obvious that the director's assistant was pretty bad at their job, because that scene where where Alex is showing Rick and Evie the Emperor before he's awakened, and then the general guy and the Scarface girl come in, which, by the way, they were super minor characters that didn't have anything to do with the plot. There's a scene where the lady has her arm around Evie's neck, and then she lets her go, and then they cut to behind the lady, and you can see her arm is still around Evie's neck. And it's that is literally the director's assistant's job, is to ensure continuity. And there was just no continuity, no consistency throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small nit to pick, though.
Wait, so did I ask the second question what made it bad? Because we're talking about that.
I mean,
now,
we're in it. We're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. I also, having the bad guy be just a Chinese general or something like that was kind of weird. I had a note that said Hitler was into artifacts that were supposedly imbued with magical properties. He would have been a more interesting villain, probably, because we're in the right time period for Hitler. It's the 1940s.
Just bring him back up. He only went down for a few years.
Well, it was 1940 in this movie, so Hitler was still in power in 1940.
Yeah. Boom. Hitler.
Well, see, then you're really treading on Indiana Jones territory.
That's true. You're kind of stepping on some toes there.
That is true. But I don't know. That was just one of those things that I was like, it just felt like the bad guy was not very, the guy who was the bad guy before the Emperor was not super convincing.
The only character I think that got really a lot of establishment that hadn't been previously established in the other movies was Michelle Yeoh. Her character had motivation, had backstory, had emotion, and a goal. And they executed on that arc very well. And I had totally forgotten that she was in this movie. And then I saw her at the very beginning and I was like, holy fuck, Michelle Yeoh. It's fucking sweet. I love Michelle Yeoh. And then, and her character, I felt was the only well-realized new character in the entire movie.
Yeah. Well, so that sounds like we're moving on to the third question, which is probably which character was the worst. Which I don't think that, they went ahead and ruined the character of Alex O'Connell, and I feel like the actor, what is his name? I have it here. Luke Ford.
He was the worst part of the entire movie.
His performance was so bad, and then the character was so bad. How the fuck did Alex not realize that Roger is evil?
Yeah. That just came way out.
How is Alex that dumb? He's a fucking archaeologist, and this is somebody who he's supposedly known his entire life, and he can't sense that this guy is fucking clearly evil.
Yeah, it was dumb. And then he just reveals himself within 30 seconds to Rick and Evie.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I was like, oh yeah, this was Luke Ford's big chance, because he had not really been in anything big before this, and he was never in anything big after this because he fucking blew it.
Yeah. Way to go, Luke Ford. If you're hearing this, we know you fucked up, but you probably know it better.
You're probably like, well, I'm married and have kids, so fuck you guys. You just have a podcast.
You guys are just three sad guys who have a podcast.
Sucks to be him. I don't want kids.
Yeah, suck it, Luke Ford.
You know what? As much as I did not like Alex's character, I hated Jonathan in this movie even more so.
Ooh,
like,
Jonathan was pretty annoying.
Like, he was just there for comedic relief, and his comedy wasn't even funny.
Yeah,
the yak yak is a terrible line.
That is
I shook my head at that physically.
And then he said something about bastards, and McCree was like, "There's no need for foul language."
Yeah.
And I was just, man, Tim, you're making a good point, because the character that was entirely there for comedic relief provided zero comedic relief.
But he was so good in the first two movies. I feel like my bias of the first two movies.
Throw that opinion right out the window. This is about this movie, not those two.
I'm going with you, Tim.
I guess like for the character, yeah, because the character did suck. John Hannah is a much better actor than Luke Ford, but Jonathan is a worse character than Alex O'Connell in this movie.
Specifically in this movie. Yes.
Yes.
I'm with you, Tim. That's a good point. Jonathan was fucking terrible in this movie.
You actually did convince me. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm be happy about that, but
so which character was the best / most compelling? Pat basically argued Michelle Yeoh.
It's got to be Michelle Yeoh.
I don't think I have an argument for another character, except for maybe you could argue fucking General Ming, but he just got killed.
He was dead for 97% of the movie, so no.
Okay. I am going to go out on a limb here, though, and I'm actually going to go against something I said earlier. Was it Evie? Because Evie, like, yes, Maria Bello was in the unfortunate situation of taking over a character that was so perfectly played by Rachel Weisz. But she took the character, reinvented it, and did something actually good. And I think that something really cool about this movie was at the beginning it picked up with the two main characters being Evie and Rick in a very fish out of water scenario, and it really, like, they worked very hard to portray these two in this domestic life that they were very uncomfortable with. And I actually didn't look up the age difference between Maria Bello and Rachel Weisz, but even though it had been 7 years since the movie, since the second movie came out, it kind of felt like they were trying to portray a significantly bigger jump than 7 years. And, like, Maria Bello did a pretty good job of reinventing Evie, even though, like, Evie was only bad in this movie by comparison. So it was Evie or it was Michelle Yeoh.
Mad Dog.
Ooh. That was not a bad character. It's not a bad character.
Sold.
No, I mean, for, like, actually having an arc, you're right that the witch / Michelle Yeoh had the best, like, most complete arc of any character in the movie, not let alone just new characters.
Yeah, that's true. Just straight up, like, any character in the movie, period.
Yeah, she's literally the only character with an arc in the movie.
Yeah, everyone else is just sort of along for the ride.
But alternative argument, Lynn Isabella Leong was the best because she could call Yetis.
That's true.
Yeah,
and she could then communicate with Yetis and say, carry this guy to my mom.
Uh-huh.
And they did. They fucking made a stretcher. Like, that had to be, like, Yeti. Oh, maybe that was yak fur.
Could have been. They killed the yak.
Oh no!
Just real quick ripped the yak open and made it
made like a leather stretcher.
I mean, I don't think he survived the avalanche, so probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not? I guess. Poor
should,
yak.
You should honor its death.
And I mean, if you're going to go that far, you might as well just say the Yetis are the best because they let the main characters live. They saved them from that avalanche.
Pour one out for the yak.
All right, so
I'm out to begin with. But...
So are we going with, for best character, are we going with Evelyn O'Connor, Zi Yuan, or Lin?
I gotta go with Michelle Yeoh. I'm such a fucking huge Michelle Yeoh fan. I gotta go with
Zi Yuan?
Yeah, I can't pronounce her name.
Yeah, I think she really was probably the best, but I did like the Yeti speech.
Tim, you almost had me there. I was ready to pour one out for the yak and throw it to the homeboy Yetis.
Oh man. All right. So was it so bad it was good?
No.
Kinda.
No.
It was good in the sense that I laughed, I liked it, I enjoyed it, but as a whole, the movie was just not that great.
It was bad in the sense that it was really bad throughout most of the entire movie. It was bad as in, I would never watch this movie again.
But, so, we haven't said any movie yet was so bad it was good, really, have we?
No, Star Trek Troopers was so bad it was good.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's our current definition. That would be the current best definition of was it so bad it was good. Yeah.
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 I would.
It's not on that level.
It's definitely not on par.
There are movies out there that do that really well. I would say Mars Attacks is so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
But it's like deliberately bad.
Yeah. So it's Starship Troopers.
But our argument there was that they didn't own that well enough, whereas Mars Attacks, I feel like they really owned it very well.
It's entirely parody.
Yeah. And so that's like almost it's like a different genre.
Yeah.
That's like saying that it's like Doctor Strangelove. Doctor Strangelove is a great movie, but it's definitely parody also.
Yeah, that's true. Bad Santa 2, I would say it was bad enough that it was good.
See, I just thought that movie was bad. I did not care for that one.
There was funny parts, definitely. I don't know. It's like it's kind of hard to decide what is so bad it's good. Really, I don't know.
It's a tough thing. It's helpful though to know that Tomb of the Dragon Emperor is just bad.
All right, but would it have been better as a Netflix/HBO series?
In the immortal words of Stone Cold Steve Austin, give me a hell yeah.
I mean, we could have actually gotten character arcs for more than just one character.
This is true.
So I joke, but like there was a lot going on in this movie. And
yeah.
They maybe could have used some fleshing out.
Yeah.
I mean, make it into a 6-7 episode series. You might actually be able to get something good out of it. But
I'd probably watch that, honestly. If that came out, I would definitely watch it, actually.
Yeah, I just give the whole first episode to like Ming, Michelle Yeoh, and like Jet Li.
No, give it to the past. Yeah, like in the past. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. Damn, now I'm like kind of wish it was.
That's the more we're talking about this, I'm thinking, no, that would actually be a pretty sweet series.
It would work.
Damn. Netflix, hit us up.
Thank you for calling Netflix.
Right.
You're greenlit. P.S. Go play Uncharted 2.
Netflix, hit us up. But we'll have to kind of figure out some kind of joint deal with Universal or something. Maybe HBO is better. But all right, so that brings us to our probably favorite topic each week, which is borrowing from the Rewatchables on the Ringer Podcast Network, and it's half-assed internet research. So my first bit here was that the part about the emperor being based on the Qin Dynasty Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who was discovered buried with the so-called Terracotta Army, like we said earlier. So that was based on real fact, which he was discovered in like 1940. Actually, I don't think he was discovered by somebody named Alex O'Connell, though.
But maybe he was discovered by someone named Luke Ford.
Who knows? Yeah, like I said earlier, Stephen Sommers, who directed the first two films, was initially on board, but he dropped out in the beginning of 2007 when the production began. And that was after they had, or before production began in 2007, but that he had already approved the script to make a Chinese mummy movie.
That's really interesting because a Chinese mummy movie just seems like such a strange direction to take that series.
Yeah. Just you wait though. So then after Stephen Sommers dropped out, Joe Johnston, who is the director of Captain America: The First Avenger, and I feel like he was offered something else that we have talked about. Maybe Gotti. I think he was offered Gotti, but he dropped.
Really?
Yeah.
Poor Joe Johnston.
He smartly dropped out of Gotti.
He's dodged a couple of bullets.
He's learned from his past mistakes.
Yeah, but he declined it. So then I also found out that Rachel Weisz dropped out due to problems with the script, is what it had in quotations, and she had just given birth to her son.
Yeah.
So I think it was a lot of it had to do with proximity of her.
Well,
of it. Shooting to the birth of her son. And so.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, if I was a new parent and I read this script, I would say, I'm not getting on a fucking plane for this. I'm not getting on a fucking bus for this. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, it was shot in Montreal, so she wouldn't have had to fly that far.
Still. Hard pass. If I read this script and I was a new parent, I'm like, no.
I also read that the part in Shangri-La, they used fake snow on the ground, and I actually had a note that it looked like fucking white sand when they were in every time they were standing in snow, their feet looked like it was in white sand. It didn't look like it was snow at all.
Yeah.
The footsteps didn't look like footsteps in snow. None of it. It just was the worst fake snow I'd ever fucking seen. And you're shooting this movie in fucking Montreal. Come on.
And then they're after the avalanche, when they're like, it just looked like white rocks, like a white rock slide. And then I also made a note that Alex should be more mindful of his oxygen supply when buried in an avalanche.
He should.
Because he was just yelling and like huffing and puffing, and it's like, dude, you're in a very small confined space and you don't know how long it's going to be until someone finds you.
Yeah. All right. So the next piece of info I've got here is for you is that opening weekend it did 40.4 million, which is a shit ton more than Bangkok Dangerous did.
Also, way more than Gotti.
Yes, indeed. But it was second in its opening weekend to The Dark Knight, which claimed the top spot for its third consecutive week.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it was second to The fucking Dark Knight. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way you were going to go up against that movie and expect to do okay.
Yeah.
I mean, 40.4 million isn't terrible. And honestly, the film grossed, in total, the film grossed 40.1 million worldwide. Well,
40.1 million worldwide?
No, 401.1 million. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like,
but that was
worse than their opening weekend.
That was the lowest grossing film in the Mummy trilogy. I would be curious to know what the Asian market was like though, because I'm curious if in the Asian market it did better than the first two.
Well, yeah, and also that was in recent years, more recently than this movie came out, but the Chinese market specifically for movies has exploded to the point that like Transformers, that one with Mark Wahlberg, the first one with Mark Wahlberg, I think. The one with the first one with Dinobots, yeah. That movie went through a major rewrite to put it in China to appeal to the Chinese market. And so like and I mean, granted, Transformers is one of the most obviously money grubbing franchises out there, but the point being that a movie literally went through a rewrite to change the setting to appeal to the specifically Chinese market. So I think that, Ben, your question is very interesting, and I would actually really like to see the numbers on that too.
Yeah. So Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film a positive review, awarding it 3 out of 4 stars. Ebert remarked, "Now, why did I like this movie? It was just plain dumb fun, is why." He also stated that it was the best in the series.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, you're very wrong, Roger Ebert.
R.I.P. But yeah, you
R.I.P.
are. Yeah. Just I found that entertaining to see that Roger Ebert, a very respected film critic, found this to be the best of the series, and he gave it a 3 out of 4. And he did find it to be just plain dumb fun, which is, I do think, why it's just plain dumb fun to watch.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that was like, I credited Death Race a lot for the same thing. It was just stupid and fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really just means that he liked Lynn's ass as much as I did.
Well, we all know that Ebert was an ass man. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Pour one out for Raj.
Raj and the yak, baby.
So I have a note also that was like, they teased a sequel in Peru, and a sequel was in the works titled The Mummy: Rise of the Aztec, with Frazier, Bello, Hannah, and Ford reprising their roles, and Antonio Banderas was going to play the villain.
Oh, that would have been so cool to see them just sort of go on a world tour and have famous actors play the villains.
Yeah, and it was actually like in production, or not in production, but it was in the works, and I believe Antonio Banderas was even signed on.
And I'm sure Leon would have been in it.
Then they decided to reboot the franchise instead because they wanted to make the Dark Universe, because they were like, oh shit, look what Marvel's got.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone wants their own universe.
Yeah, and so they decided to reboot it, and they made the 2017 reboot with Tom Cruise, and I actually have not seen that all the way through, so I really don't know if it's any good or not. I've heard that it's not.
I haven't seen it. I liked the trailer, but Ben, I actually had one more thing to add to the half-assed internet research.
All right.
There is actually a fairly collectible licensed game for the Nintendo Wii for this movie. And
do you own it?
I don't own it. It fetches a pretty penny on a lot of websites, though. For complete in-box copy, it's like $35-$40.
I thought Tim was going to actually bust it off the shelf for a second.
Yeah, he like reaches over to the shelf. I'm like, Jesus, Tim, what game can we talk about that you won't just reach over to your shelf and grab?
It'd be hard pressed to find one.
But yeah, no. So that was there is a fairly collectible game, and there was a PS2 version, a DS version. The Wii version is specifically the most collectible, but like I kind of want to play the PS2 version because, as I was thinking about it as a video game, this movie really does have like levels and action sequences that would line up very well with a game.
Well, and the soundtrack was actually pretty popular too.
And
surprising.
For the game, most of the leading cast did the voice acting, including Brendan Fraser and Luke Ford.
I kind of check that out now, mainly because I want to see that scene where they're chasing the Emperor dude through the streets of wherever the heck they were.
Yeah, on this horse.
Where they where they randomly blew up a streetcar with fireworks?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I want to see that in PS2 quality.
How do fireworks blow up a streetcar?
It just does, Ben.
But it was clearly run by electric wires.
He's riding a clay horse that doesn't have a head, and you're wondering.
Touche.
It was kind of molten in the middle, so that could have ignited the gas.
I guess. Yeah.
But
all right. Well, do we want to talk about the Dark Universe at all here, Patrick?
I mean, okay. I've always been a big fan of Universal monster movies. And I loved particularly The Invisible Man was a badass movie.
This is a reboot of one of the Universal monster movies, The Mummy.
That's true. This is thank you.
Part of a reboot trilogy, I guess.
And I loved Universal monster movies when I was a kid. And you know how kids don't like to watch old things? Like when kids are real little, if it's older than they are, they're like, fuck that. The Universal monster movies were some of the only movies from before I was born that I liked to watch until pretty much Star Wars. And so I've always kind of had this attachment to them, and I've always really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. I really even enjoyed Scorpion King 1. This is my least favorite of the entire series. And watching the trailers for the Tom Cruise Mummy movie, I was watching that and I was thinking, yeah, fuck yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then knowing that Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and they were working into this whole universe, I was so.
But what about the
psyched.
fact? What about the fact that it was the second try at them starting the universe?
I mean, come on, man! Dracula Untold.
I actually kind of enjoyed that movie. I don't know.
Well, okay, I got one review of that movie, and it was Billy, and I'll give you 3 guesses to guess what he told me.
Billy loved it, I'm sure.
But you're only going to need one, because Billy loves every movie.
Not every movie. He definitely doesn't like every movie, but there's a couple things that if a movie has, it's going to be, Billy's going to like it. And usually when I see a movie with Billy, I can walk out and be like, what was your favorite part? And I can already know it in my head.
Exactly. Well,
we saw the second Magical Beasts and Where to Find Them together. And I was like, Billy, what was your favorite part? And he's like, the blue dragon. And I was like, I already knew that.
Well, okay. I remember one time Billy and Wes and I, when we were in high school, Billy and Wes and I went to Blockbuster. And we were Billy was like, you motherfuckers get to pick every time. I'm going to pick this movie. And we wound up renting Underworld 3, which...
those movies are sick.
I don't know if you're familiar with Underworld, but the first one was a good movie. The second one was real bad. The third one was even worse. And so when Billy picked Underworld 3, I saw it and I thought, why the fuck are we watching Underworld 3? But Billy wanted to watch it. And it was so bad.
Speaking of Underworld, I feel like Maria Bello is the poor woman's Kate Beckinsale.
Maria Bello, it seems to be the poor woman's a lot of things.
Yeah, because she looks a lot like Kate Beckinsale, but Kate Beckinsale is so fucking hot.
So hot. And Underworld was awesome, but Underworld 3, not awesome. Billy loved it because it had vampires.
Yeah.
Do you know if Billy played that game Vampire?
I'm sure he tried it.
The Masquerade?
I don't know.
No, there was that game that came out last year. It was Vampyr.
No, he did not.
He probably will if he knows it exists.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
No, then.
All right. Well, since we don't only watch bad movies and TV, let's talk about some of the stuff that we have genuinely enjoyed watching lately. Tim, how about you?
So, Amazon series The Grand Tour just came out with season 3, and
nice.
That's been pretty awesome so far. Other than that, I mean, I watched Advent Children because we were talking about that last week. I still love that movie.
Wait, which?
Advent Children. Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children.
Oh, yeah, you guys talked about that on Hard Reset. Yeah. I heard you talking about that.
What else did I watch this week? Thor Ragnarok. I mean, other than that, I haven't really watched much.
Good movie.
Ragnarok
Thor
was really good.
So fun to watch.
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
That's probably the definition of fun to watch in my mind. Like,
yeah. Did you know that? Or did you see Amazon's for Grand Tour their hashtag?
Yeah,
Amazon's hit car show. And if you just smash it all together,
Amazon
shit car show.
Yeah, that was a bit of an oversight.
No, I guarantee that was on purpose. That's hilarious. It's like that's up there with when Kmart did that "ship my pants" ad, where they were like talking about how they'll ship you anything for free, and they're like, "I just shipped my pants last week."
Yeah,
and then they followed up with their gas savings card, and they were like, "Damn, that's some big ass savings."
Yeah, I do remember that. That's pretty solid. All right, Patrick, how about you? What have you been watching?
So I actually started this show called The Good Place.
Yes,
you already talked about this before. Oh no, wait, never mind. I was thinking of that other dumb show you watched.
This Is Us. No,
yeah, that's the one. So no, I've heard that The Good Place is actually really good.
It is. It's really clever. It's really fun. It's
forking amazing.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's basically like the premise of the show is this woman, Kristen Bell, she dies and she goes to heaven, and she learns that heaven is basically this neighborhood with people that are perfectly matched to fit and live in harmony together. And she finds out that she is there by mistake. And then things ensue. And it's super fun and like really funny, and it's just got this great sense of humor and like this awesome sense of mystery.
So it's created by Michael Schur, who was involved in The Office, Parks and Rec, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well.
Oh damn! And it's got
and he's a former SNL writer.
Oh yeah, it's got Adam Scott in it as a demon from The Bad Place.
Oh, Michael Schur actually played Mose on The Office.
Oh damn! Yeah, so I started The Good Place, and it's really, really good. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. Right on. Yeah, no, I've meant to start watching that because I've been told multiple times that it's really good. Well, me personally, I started the new season of True Detective. Ooh, that is some quality television right there. Get yourself on HBO and start watching it. Mahershala Ali. My God, that man can play an old man, a young man, and a middle-aged man all at once.
And well, did you hear? So Nick Pizzolatto is still in negotiations with HBO about the finale, and Mahershala Ali has said that he's read Pizzolatto's script, and he said that it is the single best piece of television he's ever read.
Wait, what do you mean for the finale? The finale, like if they're already airing, are you trying to say that they haven't shot the finale?
They've shot it, but the edit is what he's negotiating on.
Oh, weird.
How much stuff they're going to cut out.
Oh, huh. Interesting. Well, I really like that they return to like the feeling of the first season.
God, the first season was so good.
Well, I did enjoy the second season. I would have enjoyed it more. Like it just took the series in such a different direction than where the first season went. That's I think why. Like, I think if it had not been called True Detective season 2, people would have probably liked that show way more.
People would have loved it. They would have been tripping over themselves. And I've said this a million times, and I'll say it a million more. The second season of True Detective was only seen as bad because it was being compared to literally the best thing that's ever been on television.
Yeah, well, and then it was also the product of the end of Nick Pizzolatto and Cary Fukunaga. All right. Cary Fukunaga. It's Cary Fukunaga is the co-creator of the first season, and I feel like the second season was just Pizzolatto's attempt to just like drag Cary Fukunaga through the mud, because he basically has that Asian director character who he like has them like gets involved in the crimes and stuff like that, and it's just like clearly you're trying to just drag your former writing partner who you had a disagreement. Yeah, it's
pretty shitty behavior.
But he got over it, and he made another series. It seems like he's made another series of an awesome TV show.
Yeah. All right.
Indeed. So that wraps up this week's discussion of The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. See what I did there? Wraps it up because it's a mummy.
Oh, that mummifies this week's discussion on The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
I don't know these guys.
Don't forget to check out our incredible website, coldnorthpro.com, where you can see everything we do in one place.
Website.
Listen to us weekly on our other gaming podcast, Hard Reset. And next time, we'll be talking about 1998's Godzilla, directed by Roland Emmerich. See you next time, and don't forget, no refunds.